All right, welcome back to the deep dive. You're here because you like to understand stuff that matters. And frankly, who has the time to wade through all the noise these days to really get to the good stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Today we're diving into AI, which is something we could spend a lifetime talking about.
Oh, for sure.
But we're going to zero in on something pretty crucial, a technique that's changing how we build and train AI systems.
It's called reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Or as the cool kids say, RLHF.
RLHF.
Right? So if you've ever wondered how these large language models, like, the ones powering ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or Anthropic's Claude, how they manage to be so helpful and aligned with what we humans actually find useful, well, RLHF is a big part of that answer. So our mission today is to break it down.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look under the hood, see how this RLHF thing actually works in practice.
Right.
We'll explore some of the challenges that come with it and see where it's having the biggest impact. And we'll even take a peek into the future and see where this technology might be headed.
I love it.
Now, all of this is based on some really insightful writing by Victor Leung called Understanding Reinforcement, Learning from Human Feedback, RLHF, Continuous Improvement.
Great article.
So with that said, let's jump right in. How does this whole RLHF thing actually work?
Well, at its heart, RLHF is a 3-stage process. It's about taking a really intelligent AI system and teaching it what we humans consider to be good behavior.
Interesting.
So the first stage is something called supervised pre-training.
Supervised pre-training.
Yeah, this is where the AI, usually a large language model, is given a massive amount of text data.
Like a crazy amount of
data. Think of it like an enormous digital library. It's basically using this data to learn the basics of language grammar, vocabulary, different writing styles, all that stuff.
So it's kind of like how a kid learns language, right? By being surrounded by it.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. The AI is picking up on patterns and figuring out how words fit together to create meaning.
But even with all that data, it still doesn't really know what we humans actually like or what we consider a good response, right?
That's right. And that's where the second stage comes in, which is called reward model training.
Okay, reward model training.
Yeah. And this is where human feedback really becomes key.
I was going to say, it sounds like humans are finally getting involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In this stage, we have human annotators. They look at various AI-generated responses to a specific prompt, and they rank or score them based on different criteria.
Right.
Things like accuracy, helpfulness, clarity, even how well the response follows certain guidelines.
Right.
All this human feedback is then used to train a separate model, which we call the reward model.
The reward model. Okay, so this is the model that essentially learns to predict what we humans would like or dislike.
Exactly. It's learning to associate certain characteristics of the AI's response with higher or lower scores based on the patterns it sees in the human feedback.
Fascinating.
So now you've got a language model that can generate text and a reward model that can judge that text based on what it's learned from us humans.
Okay, makes sense.
And then comes the final stage, the really exciting part. It's called reinforcement learning fine-tuning.
Reinforcement learning fine-tuning.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. I know.
We love a good mouthful here on the deep dive.
I know you do.
Keep going.
So in this stage, we use reinforcement learning techniques to further train the original language model.
Okay.
One common technique here is called proximal policy optimization, or PPO.
PPO.
Yeah. You can think of it like training a dog with treats, right? You reward it for every little step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what PPO does. It allows the AI to make small adjustments to its responses based on that reward signal from the reward model. It helps to ensure that the AI doesn't go completely off the rails while trying to chase those high scores.
It's like a student figuring out what the teacher wants and trying to deliver that to get a good grade.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And through this whole process, the language model gets better and better at generating text that aligns with our human preferences because it's constantly getting feedback, though, indirectly through that reward model.
Pretty amazing.
It is.
But I imagine there are challenges with such a complex system, right?
Oh, of course. There are always challenges. And Victor Leung actually outlines some key challenges and limitations of RLHF in his article.
Okay, so let's get into those. What are some of the main hurdles?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is just the inherent subjectivity of human feedback.
Yeah.
What one person might consider a great response, another person might find just so-so or even bad.
Right. Everyone has their own opinions and preferences.
Exactly. And that can make things tricky because if the reward model is getting mixed or conflicting feedback, it can struggle to really understand what we humans want.
So it's like trying to please a crowd with all different tastes.
It really is. And on top of that, things like annotator fatigue or even their own personal biases can also influence the feedback.
So the human element, which makes RLHF so powerful, is also what makes it so complex.
Exactly.
So what are some other challenges?
Well, another big one is something called reward model misalignment.
Reward model misalignment.
Yeah, this happens when the reward model, despite all the training we give, doesn't perfectly capture what we truly value in an AI's response.
So like a disconnect between what the model thinks is good and what humans actually think is good.
Yeah, and that can lead to some weird behavior from the AI. It might start to game the system, optimizing for superficial things that the reward model happens to pick up on instead of actually trying to be helpful or insightful.
So it's like a student figuring out how to get an A without really learning the material.
Exactly.
Like just memorizing the answers instead of understanding the concepts.
That's a perfect analogy. And then there's also the issue of mode collapse.
Mode collapse.
This is when the RLHF process encourages the model to focus so much on those high rewards that it actually starts to lose some of its variety in its responses.
So it gets stuck in a rut, just giving the same safe answer over and over again.
Right, and that's not really what we want. We want AI that can be creative and adaptable.
That's what makes it interesting.
Exactly.
So are there any other challenges with RLHF?
Well, there are also some practical limitations, like RLHF, especially when you're training really large models, it requires a ton of computational resources.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's very computationally expensive.
Right.
And then you also have to consider that even with RLHF, AI models can still be vulnerable to manipulation. Like, carefully crafted inputs can sometimes trick them into generating unintended or even harmful content.
So even with all these safeguards, there's still a risk of being tricked.
That's right. It's a good reminder that no technology is perfect.
Right. It's a constant work in progress.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but clearly RLHF is being used successfully in some pretty impressive AI systems.
Yeah.
So tell us about some real-world examples where RLHF is really making a difference.
Well, one of the most famous examples is OpenAI's GPT models, especially GPT-4.
GPT-4.
Yeah, RLHF was a key part of making GPT-4 such a good conversationalist. It helped to refine its ability to give accurate, safe, and relevant responses across a wide range of topics.
So that amazing ability of GPT-4 to have those natural-sounding conversations, a lot of that comes down to RLHF.
It does.
And what about other examples?
Well, another great example is Anthropic's Claude.
Claude.
Yeah, Anthropic uses RLHF along with some other cool techniques to make sure that Claude is helpful, honest, and harmless.
I like that they prioritize honesty. That's pretty important these days.
It is, especially with all the misinformation out there.
For sure.
And then, of course, there's Google's Gemini.
Gemini.
Google is using RLHF to improve Gemini's ability to generate different types of data, not just text, but also images and maybe even other stuff down the line.
So they're really pushing the boundaries with Gemini.
They are, and RLHF is helping them do it in a way that meets users' expectations and keeps things safe.
So it sounds like RLHF is becoming pretty essential in the world of AI.
It really is. And
Yeah.
as these AI systems become more and more integrated into our lives, refining RLHF is only going to become more important.
Absolutely.
And Victor Lung's article talks about some of those future directions for RLHF.
Okay, so what's on the horizon for this technology?
Well, one big focus is on developing even more sophisticated reward models.
More sophisticated reward models.
Yeah, researchers are trying to create models that can really understand the nuances of human preferences.
So they're digging deeper into what we really want from AI.
Exactly. And the hope is that this will help to solve problems like reward hacking and make sure that the AI is truly aligned with our values.
That makes sense.
Another key area is developing more efficient training techniques. Because as we've talked about, RLHF can be really computationally expensive.
Right.
So finding ways to do it more efficiently is going to be crucial for making this technology more accessible and scalable.
Definitely.
And then there's also a lot of research going into addressing that subjectivity of feedback issue.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is. But people are exploring ways to better aggregate and interpret all that diverse human feedback.
So maybe we'll see AI that can actually tailor its responses to individual preferences.
Yeah, that's a really interesting possibility. Personalized AI. It is. And finally, there's also a lot of excitement about expanding RLHF beyond just conversational AI.
Beyond conversational AI.
Yeah, people are starting to apply these techniques to other areas like code generation, mathematical reasoning, even AI that can work with different types of data like images and audio.
So the potential applications are really expanding.
They are. It's a very exciting time to be working in this field.
So to recap our deep dive today, RLHF is this 3-step process, supervised pre-training reward model training based on human feedback, and then reinforcement learning fine-tuning. It's a powerful technique that's playing a huge role in shaping some of the most advanced AI systems out there, like GPT-4, Claude, and Gemini.
Right.
But it also comes with its own set of challenges, like the subjectivity of human feedback, the potential for reward model misalignment, and those high computational costs.
Yeah, all important considerations.
But looking ahead, the research is moving towards creating more sophisticated reward models, more efficient training methods, and even expanding the use of RLHF into new and exciting areas.
And as we continue to refine RLHF, the way we interact with AI is only going to become more seamless and more aligned with our needs and values.
It's a fascinating journey.
It is.
And it really makes you think about how the choices we make today about how we train AI will ultimately shape the future of technology and our relationship with it.
It's a powerful idea.
It is food for thought.
Definitely.
So as AI becomes more and more integrated into our daily lives, it's important to remember that we have a role to play in shaping its development.
Absolutely. We're not just passive observers.
Right.
We can actively participate in shaping the future of AI.
Exactly. And by understanding techniques like RLHF, we can start to ask the right questions and make informed choices about the kind of AI we want to create.
Well said.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into RLHF.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and let's build a future where AI truly serves humanity.
Let's do it.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for listening.
See ya.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.
Bye.